is, basically making your life easier. What I've been doing for the last month or so is, as I've been looking at different features of the system, I kind of jot things down, things that I take for granted that I feel like everybody knows but may not know. And it's the little things in life, as they say, that are make us happy and make our day easier. There's been a few things over the past couple of weeks I've shown users, and they've gone, oh my goodness, I didn't know that that was in there. And that's going to make things so much more simpler for me. So some of these things that we're going to look at today, you may already know about and you may already use. And in your mind too, maybe you haven't shared it with your other users because you think, oh, everybody knows this, but everybody doesn't because we've all come in at different times. So we're going to start today by talking about screen colors. Okay, one thing I want to point out to you is I am using Sage 2016. I am using Sage 100C. So those of you, you're probably getting information on your renewals between the Sage 100 and Sage 100C. But as you can see, I can make Sage 100C look just like our classic windows that we're used to seeing. But keep in mind that with 100C, you can do a standard window and your menus look a little bit different. We might go ahead and do a Tech Tuesday here real soon so that you can see the difference between the two. But today we're going to stay in the classic view because that's what most of our users are used to. So the first thing I wanted to point out, some of us do have multiple companies, and regardless of whether you are operating a multiple company, you at the very most have a, what I call your production company, the one that you work in on a day-to-day basis. And you also have a test company, because what does Sue always tell you? When you're trying to figure out if something's going to work, do it in your test company first, because then you can go back and do it in the live company once you know it, you get the desired results that you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to Library Master Main and Company Maintenance. And what I see a lot of people do when they're working with this system, this menu may be over here, and everybody is, trying to pull it out so they can see what's over on the left-hand side. But keep in mind, anytime you click on this folder here, all these menu items that you see here are over on the right-hand side, which is what I always work off of. You also have the ability to use the menus at the top of the screen rather than in the body here. We're going to go to Company Maintenance. And what I like to do when I have multiple companies is I want to change the color of the company. And the reason why I want to change the color is because I want my users to know you're in the test company. Don't put your daily production work in the test company accidentally. So what's an easy way of doing that? Well, changing the color. That's a very easy way of doing it. So in 2016, we now have a new tab called Theme. It's not a tab in the prior versions, but you will see it in the company maintenance screen. And here you'll notice that I am using the classic view that we talked about versus our standards. But I want to stay with classic, and here's my question: enable company-specific background color. So I'm going to say I want to choose or change the background. I can also change the frame, or I can change both. I'm going to go ahead and choose background. Now, your next thing that you're going to want to do is click on your color palette. So go ahead and click on the color palette, and you're going to click on the color that you might want. Now, let me tell you, look at these colors. They are very bright and very brilliant. Keep in mind that if you're doing this as a background color, woo, it's going to be in your face. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead, select that color, but I'm going to also define custom colors, and I'm going to move this bar up, because see, here's our sample here. So I'm going to move this bar up a little bit. So basically what's going to happen is it's not going to be as bold and in my face as that original color that I selected. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Accept here, and let's, for instance, just go into Accounts Receivable, and we're going to open up Customer Maintenance so you can see what that does. So now we have a change of a background color. So now I know that if I'm in my yellow screen, I'm in a test company. I'm not in my live company, which has my normal gray background. So our other option here is, rather than doing background, maybe I want to do just the frame. Okay, once again, I'm going to choose my palette, but since it is the frame, I'm not going to go into my custom colors. That's pretty bold, and I'm going to go ahead and click Accept. So what's the difference here? Well, when I choose my customer maintenance, now just my frame is changed. Okay, so maybe I don't want to change that background color, but I do want to change the frame so that my users know that that is a different company. All right, so that's how we change our colors of our screens. Let's talk about reports. We're going to deal a little bit with reports today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the General Ledger Detail Report. Now, this is something that is a pet peeve of mine. When I print a General Ledger Detail Report, I'm just going to preview this for you. And what you're going to see here with this report is that it is actually a landscape report. And for every single line, we have 2 lines. Now, some of us, don't mind that. But a lot of us do, because our General Ledger Detail Report can become very, very long. If we have a huge chart of accounts and a lot of posting, you could have a General Ledger Detail Report that's 100 pages long. So how do we do to combat that? And maybe I don't want to waste all that paper. Well, back in the day, we had one that was condensed. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Print Condensed here, and I'm going to hit Preview so that you can see the difference. And now you'll notice that this is a portrait form. It's no longer the 2 lines, and this is a report style that the majority of us are used to working with, right? So, okay, that's great. So does each and every single time that I come in here, do I have to remember to click this Print Condensed? No. And this is really something that I want you guys to really, really, really pay attention to. Notice up here we have a report setting, and the report setting is standard, okay? You can make changes on this screen, or make selections, shall I say, on this screen, and these are the selections that we always want to carry through for this report. The standard report setting, and it doesn't matter if it's a general ledger report, a sales order report, a form, an invoice, or whatever, anything that we set on this screen will not stick, meaning that we have to click it every time we go in and out of in and out of that report or form. If we do it to the standard form. So what do we want to do? Well, I want to save this print condensed, and I want to use it all the time. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to click my down arrow, and I'm going to do Save As. And I'm going to call this Portrait. Okay? And I have the ability to make this my default report by clicking the Default Report checkbox here, and I'm going to click OK. So now, instead of saying Standard, I say Portrait. Is Standard still there? Yes, it is. And you'll notice that I also had saved another one called AR. Okay? So if I hit Preview, there is my normal General Ledger Detail Report in the manner that we're all used to seeing it. So you can make as many of these reports as you want. Now, you saw a few minutes ago that I had one called AR. And what this is a report that I consistently print for my AR accounts. So I created a report setting for that because I wanted to be able to print this one all the time. So if you don't want to have to click and do selections, you can do a report setting. Now you'll notice here that for most of us, these preview reports especially come up a little small. And for those of us with really good eyes, it's fine. There is a way to change that permanently, though. So if I come into Library Master and I go to User Maintenance, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select myself as a user, and I'm going to go to this Preferences tab. And you'll notice right here it says Default Report Preview Zoom. Look at that. So we have a lot of things that we can change it to here. We can make it bigger or smaller, or I can even type in the percentage that I want, which is what I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and accept that. And I'm going to go out of here, and I'm going to go back to my General Ledger Detail Report. Notice Portrait still comes up. and I'm going to hit my preview. And look, it's actually bigger. So because my default changed to 125, it's all automatically going to come up. Now, I think some of you are applauding right now. I actually think I can hear that through the phone of people going, oh my gosh, look at that. Now, what that entails, though, is you getting a hold of the person who's administering your Sage and going into your user maintenance and clicking that box and changing it to 125 or 150, whatever's good for you. So if you can't get a hold of that person easily, there's another way around this. What you can always do is just click this magnifying glass right here on the report. And I like to do page width because, ta-da, now we can really see it, right? And you don't have to get a hold of that person and say, hey, can you make this change for me? You can just click the magnifying glass, click page width, and boom, you've got it to a size that, oh my gosh, all of us should be able to read, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and exit out of here. And the next thing I want to show you is how to print a report that has multiple values on it. Because what happens right now is, let's say I'm going to go ahead and print my aging report. And I want to print this report for 3 different customers. So what do you normally do? You come into here and you choose your first customer, and then you preview your report, and then you do your next customer, et cetera, or you print the report. One thing I do want to point out while I'm here on the screen, all of the Sage printing screens has this box down here at the bottom that says keep window open after. So what does that mean? That means if I hit print or preview, it's going to print or preview my report here, and then it's going to bring me right back to the screen. Okay, applause, applause, okay. A lot of us don't know that that's there. I actually ran into somebody the other day that said, what is that button for, Sue? And I said, hey, let's click it. Let me show you. And they said, oh my gosh, how much time that's going to save me, because we have to click on it again, put our values in, print, click on it again, etc. So this is going to be even more of a time saver, because what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to run it for multiple values. So I'm going to put in my first customer number, and oops, let me put my caps lock on. And what you're going to notice is I did not put that dash in. So now I'm going to put in my second customer number, and I'm putting a comma there, and then I'm going to put in my third customer number. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and hit my preview button. And what it does for me is any customer that has a value, the second customer actually didn't have any open invoices, but these 2 customers did, so they both printed for me. So you can do that at any report. And the really neat thing about it, inventory items. You want to run something on inventory items, and instead of having to do them individually, you can do that and keep these values in the report. Now let's say, for instance, one of my salesmen constantly comes up to me and says, okay, here are my customers that constantly I'm getting, I want to see what their aging is. So he bugs me all the time. Well, what do I want to do? I want to come in here and I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to call this Jim's customers. I'm not going to make it my default though. So I'm going to go ahead and click on accept, so that whenever Jim comes in and talks to me and says, hey, can you get me that report, I can just come in here, and choose it off of my list. So keep in mind, how can that save as make things handy for me, make shortcuts for me, make my life easier. Okay, so keep that in mind whenever you're looking at any of these Sage reports. Now, also, while I'm in here, I'm not going to actually do this today, but you can edit these reports in Crystal. That's what this designer button is for. So let's say maybe Jim has this report, but he wants a field or certain fields taken off or certain fields added to it. We can actually create a custom report for him using that designer button. So keep that in mind, okay? All righty. Now, I want to go, and some of you don't have sales order, but I need to talk about this because this actually is a feature that most people don't realize is out there in the system. But back in the day, when we would put sales orders into the system, when you printed it, it would stay on that sales order, okay? So what am I talking about? Well, now when you print it, it closes this order number here. So if I'm going to click on my print order button here, and I'm going to preview. I could actually print it, but I'm going to preview this order. And what it does for me is it closes this order. Now, years ago, the system didn't work like that. It left that order open. So then if we wanted to print the pick sheet, or maybe print the order to another printer or something of that nature, we could do that. There is a setup option that was added to the system several years ago to allow people that functionality to have it back. So under sales order options, you go to the quick print button. And here it says redisplay source document after quick print. So I'm going to say sales order, and I'm going to say invoice, because maybe I want to go back to those items after I click my print button. I also want to point out on this screen, we have this item right here, quick print, picking sheet after quick printing sales order. What does that do for you? Once you print your sales order, it automatically prints the pick sheet. That's what that feature is for. So keep that in mind if that's something that you may want to do. So let's go back into this order again, this 189, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to go ahead and click the print button again, and here's my order. We're going to preview it, and then we're going to go on out, and notice it kept the order up on the screen. So that is what I'm talking about, is it keeps it open. You'll also notice that after you print your order, it takes the check mark out of the box and it says printed. Now, do I have to click this checkbox in order to print it again? No. The print order button, your quick print, in the old days it was called quick print, reselects that order. Now, some of us don't quick print. Some of us will accept this order and they'll click this printer button down here, which is, in essence, a shortcut. What is it a shortcut to? It's a shortcut to this option right here, sales order printing. But what I want you to keep in mind with sales order printing is when you come in here, the program will automatically print any sales orders that have not been printed. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. It will print any sales orders that have not been printed. So my 189 is not going to print again. So what do I have to do from here is I have to select it, or choose it. Then I have to click the select button. But be very careful. And you say, why? And I say, because if you don't put an order number in here, or if you leave this wide open to all, and you hit that select button, if you have 2,000 sales orders out there, guess what you're going to print? 2,000 sales orders. That's why I like the quick print. I really, really like the quick print. Yeah, for some of us, our environments aren't conducive for that. You'll notice I'm getting a pop-up here on the credit memo. That's because I have told, customer memo, because I told the system to automatically display those. We can have another Tech Tuesday on those memos because we know sometimes they drive everybody crazy that they're popping up all the time. But the print order, going back to printing orders, the print order to me is great to be able to do that. Now, let's go to the Lines tab. What do I want to show you on the Lines tab? And this does not just apply to sales orders. Anywhere you are within the system, I don't care if you're in accounts payable invoice entry or accounts receivable invoice entry, purchase order entry, whatever. When you go to your Lines tab, you have multiple grids. We have a top grid and we have a bottom grid. And there's information on that bottom grid. In this case, there's an information about this item number. Okay? Now, what I always tell my folks is put everything on the top grid that you need to look at or you need to do something with. For instance, here's a part number. I don't know what that part is. I need my description up there. So I'm going to left click and drag and drop. Left click, hold it down, drag and drop. Sometimes it takes a few times, but this will now stay there forever. You don't have to do this every time you come into the window. It will be here. So if you are a drop ship person, you need that drop ship button up there, then you drag it and drop it up there. Okay? Now, another thing, up here, you have a change view. Some of our people like this view instead. I don't. To me, it's too cluttered. So, but they like it because then they can see everything about this item. And in a lot of cases, I don't want them to see everything about this item. I don't want them to pay attention to it, especially with GL account numbers and costs and so forth, okay? So I personally like this view better. So drag and drop any screen to get that information up there, okay? Now, all right, so what are we going to do? We're going to create a new sales order here, and I'm going to pull up Maverick Papers, and I'm going to go to my lines. Now this, guys, cool feature. You'll love it. You probably didn't know you could do it. I'm going to get that dropship back off because that drives me crazy. I don't like that. So we're going to come over here, and oh, another thing that people don't realize when they're entering orders, I'm in the ordered field, and I'm going to enter in the quantity of what this customer wants to order. Look down here at the bottom. Tells you how many you have left in your warehouse. So if you're ever not sure, it always tells you. So I'm going to enter 10 of these. Now, I need to add a comment. Oops, let me take the caps lock back off. Need to add a comment about this line. It is a long comment, right? Okay, so it wraps, right? We have a lot of characters here. So what is that going to look like? I'm going to go to my total screen, and then I'm going to do my print order. I'm going to say hit Save Changes. Now, what did you just see? You just saw a pop-up that says, do you want to generate a purchase order? Why did I get that pop-up? Because I have that feature turned on in the system where I can go in and generate a purchase order for my sales order. New feature a lot of people don't realize is out there, but it's there. I'm going to say no. So I'm going to preview this. And you'll notice that this is a very long line, right? Maybe I don't want it to look like that. Maybe I want it to look more like a paragraph. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you the difference. So let's choose another item. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to order 2 of these. And I'm going to say this is another comment. And I'm going to hit Control Enter. I want a second line. Control Enter so that it looks nicer. Okay? So what do I'm going to get? I'm going to save this. I'm going to preview it. Ta-da. Look at that. I know. I can hear the applause. All right. So you can also do that with your /C lines. So you can, type in here. Okay, and get your Control Enter. Okay, so just a comment line on the line, or you can do it with /Cs. And this looks like it ran together because I probably should have put a space in between those. Actually, let me show you what I'm going to do with that to make it look even nicer. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to click my Insert row, and I'm going to do a /C there. Boom, boom. So now when I print it, it's going to look much nicer than what it did before. Now, how many of you have always wanted to be able to do something like that? I bet you a lot. Okay, now, one of the other things that I wanted to point out while we're in here is the power of the right click. I've said it before, and a lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of ways to get to different features within this software, okay? Right now, when you know you're on a line item, you've got these buttons up here, and they do different things, and I can do a down arrow, and I can get into all these functionalities. But I can also right-click. And when I right-click, I can do different things. I can get into system info. I can get into panel settings, which gets me into customer if I have, or customizer, if I have the security rights. I can also get into related tasks. So wherever you are in the program, right-click. See what's associated to that task. Okay? Maybe you want to go into sales order and quote history. You know, different things. Maybe I want to go into item inquiry. Look at all the things my right-click brought up. Maybe I want to go into item inquiry from here, and it pulls up information on that item. Okay. The other thing that it does, you know, you've got all of your insert buttons here, but it's got the export to Excel. Why? I've never figured out why anybody would want to do that, but do it just for fun. Just be on a line and hit export to Excel and watch it go out to Excel. It's fun. And then you look at it and you go, well, I don't know why I would do that, but hey, look, it's cool. It does it. So power the right click. Make sure you try it throughout the system. Okay. Now, I'm going to jump back to accounts payable for you. Okay. There is a new feature in AP, and it is reprinting a manual check. Now, well, let me rephrase it. It is reprinting a quick print check from manual check entry. So first of all, I'm going to be showing some of you the ability to quick print a check that you didn't even know that you could. So what is a quick print check? Well, that is a check that you are printing what we're going to call on the fly. So what happens, the boss comes in, he says, oh, you know, the guy's outside, I need a check for da-da-da, and I need it right away. So what do? You go into invoice data entry, and you enter the invoice, and then you update your register, and then you go into check printing and electronic payment, and you select the invoice, and then you print the check, and then you update that register, and then you hand the check to the boss. Well, you don't have to do all those steps, okay? You come into manual check entry, and you click on the little printer icon, which is your quick print check. And notice that your check number is the asterisk PRNT asterisk. It will pull today's date, but you can put any date in there. And then you enter the dollar amount and who the vendor is for the check. Okay. Then we go to our Lines tab. Now, on our Lines tab, I have several choices. If I click my Select Invoices, I can select an invoice that's on file in the system already. I can go into my invoice number field. I can enter an invoice number right here, and the system's going to prompt me, is this a new invoice? And I'm going to answer, well, why, yes, it is. And it is going to set that invoice up and pay it at the same time. But today I don't have an invoice. I'm just taking it to a GL account number. So I'm going to click on the hash symbol here with the little green arrow, which is our Create GL Distribution. And it is going to bring up my general ledger distribution window and tell me, hey, I'm going to put this to this GL account number. Is this okay? If it's not, change the GL account number and put it to the expense account that you want it to. Otherwise, go ahead and click on Accept. So now I'm going to click on Accept, and it goes into a check printing screen. I'm going to go ahead and print this check. And I'm going to say, oh, okay, yeah, that's the right check number. And then it says remove your checks from the printer and replace it with plain paper. And I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to look at my printer and went, oh, I forgot to put my checks in. I just printed them on white paper. Oh my gosh. What do I do? Well, as we well know, normally we've already said no, we don't want to reprint it. So it's already assigned a check number, right? So what do? I need to reprint this because I forgot to put my checks in. So basically, I just click that magnifying glass just like I just did, and I'm going to select that check that I just printed, and I'm going to click on the printer icon again, and then now it says reprint check. How awesome is that? So we're going to click on that, and it's saying, are you reprinting the same check number? So in other words, did you truly forget to put your paper in? You can say yes, I'm using the same check number, and it will go ahead and reprint that check. Or maybe I put the checks in, but I put them in upside down. So I'm going to say no because I actually ruined that check. So now it asks me, you know, do you want to void or delete the original check number? And I'm going to say, well, I'm going to void it. So now it's going to choose a new check number for me, and it's going to allow me to reprint this check. Now keep this in mind. Obviously, this only works if you haven't updated the check register, right? So it still has to be out there. So I'm going to go ahead and click the printer icon, which is a shortcut for what? The manual check and payment register. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to print our register. And what you're going to notice is that it will void that original 1005. So it voids the check, and it gives me the new check number. Easy peasy, and really cool. And once again, I'm going to print my daily transaction register. Okay, so that all was fun stuff. Now, there are things that sometimes you need to have more than one company open at a time. And maybe you are looking at something in the real company and something in the test company at the same time. So we're going to go into bonus round right now, because that was a lot of the good tips and tricks that I had. So the big question is how do I open something in multiple companies easily? So what I can do is, let's say, vendor maintenance here. I have a vendor maintenance window, and I'm in my demo company, and I'm going to pull up my Airway property. And I want to open that up. We're going to say it's in my test company. So what did I do? Power of the right click, right? I am going to right click, and I'm going to open in a new secondary company. So ABC, I click OK, and here is my ABC. Now I can choose Airway there. Now I did a bad thing, because my ABC and my demo companies have almost the same color, but this is where you would want to make sure that those colors differ. Okay, so there you are, where you can open up two different windows, or the same window in two different companies. Isn't that cool? Okay, power of the right click, abilities to do these things. And you know what you guys can do as a favor for us is, whenever you have these things, hey, is there an easier way? Because what I've been doing is writing down things that I've been sharing, and like I said, they seem little to me. They seem like nothing to me, but for you guys, it may make a world of difference of being able to get through your day-to-day process much, much faster. So I hope that this was a good session for you. We are always looking for new topics, and I actually got it done in the 30 minutes today. So hopefully you picked up a few new tips and tricks, and you were just one click away from happiness, and you just didn't know it. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we would like to see you back again soon. Thanks a bunch, and y'all have a great day. Bye for now.